Ladies and gentlemen, in my house today, 3-time Olympic medalist, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, Carolyn Waldo is here.
It seems like a lifetime. Honestly, it sounds weird when you say that.
That's bizarre.
It really is bizarre because it was like over 30 years ago, so I don't even think about that anymore.
Except for the fact you're wearing your Olympic medals.
Oh yeah, I wear them all the time. This is them, but I keep them in socks and I don't take them out.
In a tube sock,
I will, but
nonetheless.
Yeah, well, just little
Yeah,
sockets.
well, let's take a look. Let's see what you got there.
I really don't display them. They've got great memories and stuff for me, but I don't display them. But yeah, so
they are really in a sock.
I actually have a very funny story about my medals.
Okay.
So the ribbon's really ratty on them.
It's beautiful.
So I came back from the '84 Olympic Games with a silver medal, and I thought, what am I supposed to do? Where do you stick medals? Like, really, what do you do with an Olympic medal?
I think you get it framed.
Well, some people get them framed, but I like to go to schools and talk to kids, right, and inspire them and all that kind of stuff.
We have so many. You can do all kinds of things.
So
you see that?
I went to. So I went out. I went partying, came home, and I thought, well, I'm going to stick because I still wanted to bring it to schools and show them off and motivate kids, young children. So I thought, well, I'm gonna put it in my underwear drawer. I'm gonna hide them underneath my underwear because that's a safe place. No one goes in there. Sure enough, I come home late one night and all of a sudden I find out I was broken into. I lived in a basement apartment. My window was smashed. And I go running towards my underwear drawer because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I had money on my counter, like valuables sitting out. That wasn't taken. I open up my underwear drawer. All of my underwear are gone.
Oh, come on.
But my Olympic silver medal, not this one, my Olympic silver medal was still there. Huh. So they took all of my underwear. It was a panty raid. And they didn't touch my silver medal.
That's hilarious.
I guess silver wasn't good enough for them.
Who was it? James Duthing or something?
Who knows?
That's funny.
Yeah. So don't stick valuables in your underwear drawer.
They're very gorgeous.
I called the cops and everything.
Seoul Olympics.
So they're gold plated, and you can actually see the silver coming through on them.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. They're pretty hacked up because they've seen a lot. They've been touched a lot by thousands of people. Because I want to be able to inspire others. Yeah. So to me, just having it framed on a wall doesn't do anything for me.
It makes it even cooler that they got all that wear on them. I think. That's what I thought about my football helmets. I'm like, should I bring them to schools when they talk? And they'll get all, they won't have the original markings on it. And I'm like, that just adds to the character of them.
And you know what? You want people to learn from it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not into putting displays up. I like to go out and experience. I mean, the memories are in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, those, I care about them, but it's up here. It's not the materialistic object that means much to me.
Mm-hmm. It is. They're very beautiful, though. They are. And I mean, you look at them every year, the medals, and sometimes you like them or you don't. And then those are actually just very gorgeous. They look almost ancient. Well, I guess they are
30 years old.
They are very ancient, Carolyn.
They are ancient, along with me.
That's hilarious. I got to say, for two very busy people to arrange this podcast, it was very easy to synchronize it.
There you go.
You must get jokes like that all the time, right?
Yes,
Synchronize
I do.
swim.
And Where's Waldo?
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, I get Where's Waldo a lot too.
Wow.
I wish I came up with that idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea for sure. You get a swimming pool full of things, and then you with a gold medal in it. Yeah. So born and raised in Montreal, you're saying?
Yeah, born and raised in Montreal.
Okay.
In a little community called Beacon Hill, which is funny because you grew up in Beacon Hill in Ottawa.
I did. We're sitting in Beacon Hill right now.
Yeah.
And Beacon Hill, so that's obviously an English part of Montreal?
It was, West Island.
It was. Now it's not.
No, it's still Spanish. The West Island. It went Spanish. I don't go back very often, but that's where I did my training when I was young, and then I moved to Calgary to do the extensive training, the 6 to 8 hours a day of training. Okay. Leading up to the Olympics, that's what I did.
Okay, so when you were growing up, you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 older sisters.
2 older sisters, and how much older?
We're 2.5 years apart. So I'm the baby. Yeah. So I've got 2 older sisters.
Were they involved in sports?
They were also involved in synchro. One of my sisters had to retire because she had dislocated shoulders, and her they were really not in place very well. My other sister, she also did a bit of synchro too, but they didn't take it to the level that I did. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And your parents?
My parents, they were both into sports. My mom, though, hated the water, didn't really know how to swim. But she wanted to make sure that all of us knew how to swim. So that's how I was introduced to the water. Although I was terrified of the water, I hated the water when I was young because I had a near drowning incident when I was about 3.
Oh, well, let's talk about that.
So I didn't. Well, so I was at this lake.
Yeah.
And my 2 older sisters were with me, and my eldest sister wanted to go in the water with my parents. And so my parents said, "Okay, Robin, you stand beside your sister. Don't let her go in the water." Mm-hmm. Well, Robin wanted to kind of follow my sister and parents in the water a little bit, and then I proceeded to follow. And I was kind of on my stomach, and they flipped me over. I don't really remember it that much.
Oh, so this is like post drowning you're talking about now?
Yeah, this is
you followed them in?
I followed them in, and
then
I was just kind of floating there.
Okay.
And then they rolled me over. I mean, I wasn't, I could have easily turned into a drowning incident.
Yeah.
Because no one was really watching me.
Right.
My sister was supposed to watch me, but she was clearly a little too young to be watching me, and I was curious. So I just developed a real fear of the water, and then by the time I was 10, all of my friends knew how to swim. I did not know how to swim, and I was getting teased. So it was an outdoor pool. We were members of the outdoor pool. Both of my older sisters were swimmers. I still didn't know how to swim. My friends were calling me a chicken. So I thought, okay, I don't want to be called a chicken anymore. So I got in the water. I felt proud that I got in the water up to my waist, of course. It was in the shallow end. My friends started to splash me. The water's going up my nose, down my throat, in my eyes. I felt like I was drowning again. I had to get away. I got on my back. I realized, oh, wow, I float really well. So I started doing like a basic sculling technique. Ironically, the lifeguard on duty happened to be the synchronized swimming coach. And she saw me floating on my back, turning blue in the face, and said, "Come on over." She goes, "You should take up synchronized swimming because you have the basic skills. You know how to hold your breath, turn blue in the face, and scull." So I said, "But I don't know how to swim." She goes, "That's okay. I'll teach you tomorrow." So I showed up the next day and learned how to swim, and then just kind of it took off. So I overcame my fear of water. And although I have to say, to this day, if someone were to hold me underneath the water, even though I can't hold my breath like I used to, I would still panic. Like I still would not, because I guess I have so much respect for the water. I realize how powerful it is, and not being able to breathe is really unpleasant. And I mean, when you're a synchronized swimmer, you have to push yourself this close to the point of passing out.
Really?
That's how far you have to push yourself.
So you're staying underwater. How long can you hold? How long could you hold your breath?
In compulsory figures, which we used to do, it would be about 1.5 minutes, and that would be active. So that's not just sitting there holding your breath.
Okay.
Just holding our breath would be close to 4 minutes.
Wow, that's a lot.
So it's a long time. Yeah. So you get to the point where you're sucking, you're feeling like your lungs are going to explode, your eyes are bulging out of your head, and you get the feeling of what it would be like to drown.
Wow.
Like you have that panic sensation, but you know you can't come up to breathe because your coach is going to give you crap.
Yeah.
So you force yourself to stay under. But then it becomes a point in time where, okay, I am going to pass out, so that's when you have to come up.
Yeah. Is that part of the training? Is it like holding your breath underwater training?
Not so much now.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is, but in my day, it was all about how long you could hold your breath and how slow you could be and controlled. Now it's very different. The sport's changed so much. Concussions are actually a problem in the sport. They aren't staying underneath the water as long. The movements are fast. It's about synchronization, choreography, whereas in my day it was more controlled, slow, that sort of thing. So they aren't holding their breath like they used to in routines in my day, which is good because it was becoming dangerous because you're killing brain cells. Just like in football and boxing, you kill brain cells, taking too many punches to the head. Well, the same thing in synchronized swimming. Wow. So they've lessened the time underneath the water, speeding things up. And but still, for training, you basically you'd be doing lengths underneath the water with items in the water, elements in the water underneath to simulate a routine. So it's like ski jumping. When you start off ski jumping, you aren't going to be going off the Olympic ramp. You're going to start off on a little itty bitty jump, and you're going to gradually get higher and faster and stronger. And that's the same thing with synchro. You start off holding your breath for very short periods of time, and then you make it a little bit more challenging every time, and you take less rest. you hold your breath a little longer.
So it is trainable. It is trainable to.
Oh, absolutely. You train your lung capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right now my lung capacity would be crap.
Yeah.
But you learn something that's very interesting with the sport is you have to learn to relax. That's all about a control. So you see a lot of people, they want to have contests of how long they can swim underneath the water. And in order to swim long underneath the water, you have to be really smooth with your stroke. So if you're going like this and you're kicking your legs and you aren't being effective because you're burning up more calories and more energy. So if you're going slow and controlled underneath the water, it's like pearl divers.
Yes.
You can go farther, you can stay longer, and you can hold your breath longer.
So those pearl divers are crazy. Like we saw them in Florida, and they were like, it seemed to me, maybe I'm wrong. Is it like 8 minutes? Can they hold?
Well, I'm not sure if it's 8, but it's more than what we did. What we do in synchro, but they get in this state. Yeah. I don't know, like a yoga mind or something, where they go in this trance. And I don't know how they go to the depths either.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah.
And then that guy told me, we work on this and we practice it. And it just, to me, it seemed like there was a trick happening and I didn't understand what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, there is a lot of training involved. My duet partner, when we were, our first segment underneath the water, in the first minute, it was a minute underneath the water. Okay. And we're going full out.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. 1 minute to hold your breath. And we have double legs out of the water, which is a very difficult move.
Wow.
So it wasn't like it was an easy minute. It was a very difficult minute holding our breath. Yeah. And she was passing out 3 times a week. She was convulsing.
That's
so she'd
terrible.
come up and she would be, so we'd start when we were wearing heart telemetry units. So it's amazing what happens to the heart. Like there's a lot of science. There's no other sport like it where you're holding your breath like this. Yeah. Plus you're exerting yourself. So we were trying to figure out why she was passing out. We never really did know why, but there was so much strain on the heart. So you're starting, because you're excited, you're nervous, so your heart rate's going to be a little higher. So you're starting the routine at about 110 beats a minute, let's say. Okay. And then we dive in the water. All of a sudden, now we're holding our breath. So obviously, our heart rate is going to dip. It's going to go down and down and down. Our heart rate got to, I think it was 40 beats a minute. And then within 5 seconds, it shot up to 180.
Wow.
So going from 40 to 180 beats per minute in 5 seconds. Yeah. Like that's pretty significant load on the heart. But she was passing out 3 times a week. Wow. And we would have to, so she was basically poisoning her body with carbon dioxide. Wow. So we'd have to take the nose clip off and then she'd finally, stop convulse, and then she'd be okay. But we were terrified she was going to happen. It was going to happen in a competition.
Or she might die.
Well, no, we didn't know. We didn't think she would die.
Yeah. That's not a concern.
We were pushing the envelope. We pushing the envelope.
We have to, I guess so, right? At the top of the game for sure. And the nose clip, that's everybody wears that thing?
No, if you have a very talented big upper lip and you have a squished nose, we had some synchronized swimmers that they could go like this.
And squish their face all up.
Well, they could actually completely block their nose with their lip.
Really? Wow.
So there was one girl in Calgary who could do that. She never wore a nose clip. But you need to, if you're going to hold your breath for that period of time and you're upside down, you have to be able to block your nose because there's going to be the water goes in and you won't be able to hold your breath.
Yeah. So you're working off the breath that goes all the way to your mouth. Is that right? Because, if the water goes in, there's still breath in your lungs.
Well, but the water will still come in, and then the water will go into your lungs, and you'll drown.
Okay, wow.
That's what would happen if you didn't have a nose clip.
That's crazy. So 10 years old, this all begins. How much are you training? To me, I suppose that was the first time I realized that synchronized swimming was a thing. I didn't, when you, Carolyn Waldo, winning it at the Olympics in Seoul, right? Is that the world's sort of... realizing it's a thing?
Well, in 84, it made its debut. In 84, we won, I won a silver in solo and we won a silver in the duet. So it was kind of put on the map in 84. And then 88, we won gold and silver. Michelle Cameron and myself, and also myself in the solo event. So, I guess it really put it on the map because there were only that year in 88, there were only 3 Olympic gold medals, and I won 2 of them. Lennox Lewis was the other gold medalist.
Wow, Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, so it was Lennox Lewis, myself, Michelle Cameron, and I.
Wow.
And that was all that won gold that year.
Is it funny that it's solo synchronized swimming?
I know, it's kind of weird. And that was the year of Ben Johnson, 88.
Oh, wow.
So Ben Johnson was going to be the one to win, of course, but we all know that story.
Yeah, that's a big
unfortunately.
one. Yeah, for sure. Wow. So that was 88 was a gold, and 84 you said was silver?
Yes, yeah.
And you don't carry the silver medal around with you?
No, the silver medal is back at home.
He's back at home.
Yeah, it's back at home. I really don't take these out.
Yeah, I've seen him once before. In fact, it came up in my Facebook feed 4 years ago. The first time I met you was at a school over here in the neighborhood. Yeah. It was amazing. It just appeared. I guess it was
so funny.
4 years ago, almost to the day.
Yeah,
for sure. And how often, when you were 10 years old, did you practice? Were there other sports that you're involved in?
I love sports.
Yeah.
I mean, swimming was my least favorite. So
really?
I liked track. I liked gymnastics. I liked tennis. I liked you name it. I was I liked playing football, frisbee, volleyball. I mean, just anything in phys ed and gym. I loved.
That was your strength.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So, was there any other thoughts to what you're going to do with your life other than sports at the early age, or?
Well, actually, when I was young, I never ever. I mean, this was not really my goal when I was a kid because I didn't think that there was anywhere to go with it, and I never thought I would be in the water. I actually wanted to be Julie on the Love Boat. Do you remember the Love Boat?
Yeah, she was the daughter of the Captain Stubing.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's what I kind of envisioned myself when I was like 11.
Yeah.
I was thinking I was going to be Julie on the Love Boat.
The Love Boat.
Yeah.
I love the Love Boat. And Isaac and Gopher.
Yeah. Or I also love dolphins. So I was thinking maybe I should be an oceanographer or something like that.
Well, you became the human dolphin. Right?
Yeah.
Like the SeaWorld version, anyways. That's what I picture when I see, or. Maybe that's not the right thing.
Yeah.
They can probably hold their breath a long time.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure how long they can hold their breath, but they're pretty cool. I got to swim with one although not that I really agree with SeaWorld. That's another whole, when you see the captivity of.
It's a terrible place, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially for whales, I think, from what I've heard.
Oh, yeah. No. But they're getting rid of that, so that's good.
Yeah,
the whole show.
That's it. Everyone loves Marineland.
Yeah.
That's Marineland. They're two different places, right? Marineland's in Canada? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like one guy owns that, I believe, right?
I'm not sure.
And he's getting he's at the age where he's like, I don't care, I'm keeping my dolphins. Like he doesn't. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sports for you, so lots of sports, and then synchronized swimming comes around. How often are you doing that at 10 years old?
I wasn't doing it much at 10. I mean, I was learning how to swim at 10. Mm-hmm. So really at 11, that's when I started really taking up synchro.
Yeah.
I started and I was only doing maybe 3 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't much when you're that age. Okay. And then it was when I was 14. That's when I really got serious.
Okay.
And I was training probably 3 hours a day at the age of 14. Mm-hmm. And then I quit because I realized I don't have a life. Like missing out on my childhood. I wasn't enjoying it that much. So I actually quit for about 8 months. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I really miss it. And so I got back. And then that's when I really refocused and really put my nose to the grindstone. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was 17, I then moved out to Calgary, and that's when I was doing my majority of training, and I was training 6 to 8 hours a day and 6 days a week, and it was for 9 years.
Oh, what age? 16 that started?
Yeah, well, I was probably training that around 15.
15. You left your family?
Yeah, so I was living in Montreal when I started the heavy duty training, but it was when I went to Calgary. That's when it really became serious. Mm-hmm. Like it was very, very serious. So I moved away from home at 17.
Oh wow.
So yeah, like anything, if you really want to be good at something, you can't just sit back. You've got to push. You got to love what you do as well. Mm-hmm. So many kids and people think it's just going to happen. It doesn't just happen. Mm-hmm. And opportunities don't just happen. You have to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So, like they say, 10,000 hours of practice or something, you become an expert in your field. So that's pretty much what it takes. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work. And if you're willing to put in the work and if you love what you do, then the success should come. Mm-hmm.
So did you finish school high school before you left? Or?
So I finished high school and then I went to University of Calgary. I only did University of Calgary. I was taking general studies because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then that was 1 year before the Olympic Games. Okay. And then I also had to work because I had to support myself. My parents were supporting myself, but I wanted to try to make it on my own. Yeah. So my coach then said, okay, Carolyn, you got to give up. you got to give up the job, school, and you got to focus now full time, because I was training 6 to 8 hours a day. So it's kind of hard to fit in school and job on top of training 6 to 8 hours a day for the Olympics. So she then gave me, she said, Carolyn, you got to shut it down now and you got to focus on the Olympics. So leading up to the Olympic Games, like 7-8 months before the Olympic Games, I just focused on the Olympics and put everything else on hold.
Wow.
Yeah. And then opportunities after the Olympics opened up, and that's how I got my job on television, because the door opened for me. I was very fortunate. I did go back to Ryerson, and then the position at CTV opened up, and they said, would you like the job? I said, of course I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to keep going to school and saying, well, no, I'm going to do my 4 years of schooling and turn down a job at a television
Where
station.
did you take at Ryerson?
I was taking a journalism course, and I was also taking a business course. So I was just trying to have, I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket, because television is a very difficult industry to get into. And so I didn't know what my options were. So I was trying to keep my options open.
Yeah. So what kind of training do you do to become the best synchronized swimmer? At the time, what kind of training was involved?
Well, now it's very different. Back then, there wasn't really, you had to be a good swimmer. You've got to be a really good swimmer in order to be a synchronized swimmer. So that's the basics of anything. If you want to be a synchronized swimmer today, you should be a really good swimmer. So have good lung capacity. But now you have to have the flexibility. You've got to have like a gymnastics background almost. You've got to be have a diving background, because they do acrobatics. You see the flips in the air that they're doing. So it encompasses so much more.
Flips
now.
In the air, like from the deck or whatever. What do you call it?
Well, no, not from that's when they're doing like thrusts. So there'll be girls on the bottom, and you're thrown out like it's a trampoline out of the air, and they're doing revolutions out of the air, and that's where concussions are coming into play, because when they do the revolutions in the air, and of course they aren't touching the bottom, so this is coming from pure force. They end up falling, and they can go head to head when they land. So they have to disperse so fast when the person's coming back down. And if they don't disperse fast enough, that's when the heads collide. So there's more injuries now than there has been. Before, there weren't that many injuries in the sport, but now, because of the eye contact, the fast motion, they swim very, very close together. So there's becoming more injuries now in the sport.
How deep's the pool?
Well, it's typically I competed also in pools with a shallow end, and that's really challenging.
Cheaters.
And you can't. Well, no, you can't touch the. You can't
someone
touch.
Checking.
So, you can't. You'll get points deducted if you touch. So back in my day, occasionally you'd have to swim in a pool with a shallow end, and you wouldn't be able to touch the bottom. So you're all crunched, and you're crunched like this underneath. So it's actually very difficult to compete in a shallow. But typically you don't. You're competing in a pool that's probably at least 8 feet deep, at least, because your hands are stretched above your head. So it's probably more like 12 feet, 10,
so
12 feet.
There's no move like where you go to the bottom and then you just shoot yourself up. Did I just invent a move? Oh,
well, no, that's what we do.
Oh, you do?
But you can't touch the bottom. So, and there's also diving tanks that I would train in a diving tank. So, the bottom is not... like it's usually pretty distant from you, because you can't be making contact with the bottom.
At all. Like, so even if it's a big maneuver, you've just come up with a new idea.
No, you don't touch the bottom.
That was my one move I thought of.
You don't touch the bottom.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of training. So my cat just walked in the room right there. He's just
there you go. Well, what big eyes.
Yeah. That sounds like a nursery rhyme. So you're training all day long. What at the time when you start and before you moved to Calgary, like how competitive is it? Are you the best in Canada at that time?
I was. I'm trying to remember the timing here. So I was. I was one of the top in Canada. I was third in the world at that time before I moved out to Calgary, and that's when I realized. So I wasn't the best in Canada, but I was third in the world in compulsory figures, which is kind of strange. But so then I realized, okay, you know what? If I really want to pursue this, I've got to go out west where the best coach is. So that's when I realized I have the potential. I thought it's time to go. Time to fly my wings.
Why is it all the best coaches are in Calgary for everything?
Now that's the Olympic, for the Winter Olympics. That's where it is. But it's just where the strong clubs are. So it just depends. There's always hubs for different sports where the hubs are. Toronto has a lot of hubs for for sports excellence. Montreal is a good hub for sports excellence programs as well. Same with Calgary. So there's a lot of areas that that have sports hubs. Yeah.
And so you've moved to Calgary, and then the Olympics come along, and you're top 5 in the world, or however that is. Is that right?
So before the '88 Olympics, we were actually undefeated for leading up to the Olympics. I hadn't lost a competition in 4 years. And then we go into the pre-Olympic meet 3 months before, and I lose.
No.
Bad.
Bad.
That's not good.
What do you mean?
Not good to lose before the Olympic Games.
When you touch the bottom of the pool?
No, I just didn't swim well. I didn't swim well.
Why?
So it's like the worst. Well, it was like a brain fart. I don't know. I just didn't swim well. It just
performance anxiety.
I don't know if it was anxiety. I just didn't perform well. So that was a real, like anything in life, right? That's how we learn, is by failing. It's like when you think of yourself, you think of if you have a kid, a child that's learning how to walk. How many times do you fall before you learn how to walk?
I still fall.
The only way we learn to walk is by falling, right? That's how we learn how to walk.
I felt this afternoon.
Well, there you go. And now you walk really well.
That's generous. That's very generous.
So it was a good wake-up call before the Olympic Games, because maybe I was getting a little overconfident. I was getting a little complacent maybe before the Olympics. And so this it shook me. And it made me realize, okay, holy crap, I got to get my acting gear, because there's no way I want to go 4 years undefeated, and then now I'm losing before the Olympic Games. And if I go in the Olympic Games and lose, this is not my plan. So, I beefed it up and made some little, tweaks with everything. And luckily I had success. So.
When you look back at your failures, and you mentioned that failure, and you mentioned the time when you quit synchronized swimming because it was too much. Can you think of any others that sort of come to mind? Like as you say, we stand on our failures. That's what makes us who we are. Right?
I think I've always been a very athletic person, so I always had fairly I have confidence in athletics. But in school, I found school challenging. I was a lot of kids assume that because you're really good in a sport or in a certain field that you are really smart in everything. You're really good at everything. And that's not true. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. And I think people should recognize that, is that, I'm like many people, not everybody learns from a textbook very well.
Right.
And I'm a practical learner. So you tell me, you show me how to do something, and I can do it very well. But if you have to, it's like IKEA directions. You pick up something at IKEA and you've got this. Now they do have pictures.
Pictures are
but it's difficult. I'm very challenged when writing out, if it's written directions and trying to put something together, or math word problems. It's like, oh my, really bad.
Yeah.
So, there were elements in school where I really struggled. I passed everything, but it was, it wasn't easy going through school, because I wasn't a brainiac. I was an average student. So, I think we all have our struggles in aspects of our life. None of us are perfect.
Right.
As much as we'd like to think that we're perfect, we aren't. Yeah.
Well, being imperfect is the new perfect, right? You have to.
Right.
Everybody has their struggles.
Of course.
And it's learning to overcome them, and as you say, tweaking things, moving forward in that direction,
and not being so hard on yourself. Yeah. That was something that I also realized is, when I lost at the pre-Olympic meet, and I was so upset. I still had to swim that night, and I was crying, like when I was in the warm-up pool, and I realized, don't be so hard on ourselves, it's just a small portion of our life, when we make a mistake or we screw up at something. It's like, let it roll off your back. We can't take things too seriously in life. We got to be able to enjoy life a little more. And so what, we make a mistake, learn from it and move on.
Yep. Live in the moment for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Plan for the future, but live for today and in today.
Yeah.
Really, that's all we got, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. For sure. So you go to '88, and you're expecting to win there. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure at the Olympic Games, and I remember vividly right before going out to compete, and I know exactly how people can get psyched out and how they can crack under pressure. Yeah. So I'm standing there, and there's the curtain. And it's about 2 minutes before they're going to call my name to walk out in front of millions of people. Yeah. Like, it's going to be live on television. And there is a camera, an NBC camera crew. And they are literally they're this far away from my face, and they're live on TV. I know they're getting the live shot, and they're walking around me like this with the camera, and so I'm thinking, okay, I got to focus here. Like I'm going out to compete. I've got to have the performance of my life. This is what I've been training for my entire life. Yeah. And this could really mess me up, having this camera right in front of my face. Yeah. And so for a picosecond, I was realizing, oh my God, like this, I am live on television right now with millions of people watching me. And I'm going to go out and compete at the Olympic Games. So it came into my head for a very brief second. And it started getting me my anxiety level was really going up. And then I realized, okay, stop. So then I focused and I shifted my thinking to thinking about, okay, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to have fun. It's like any other competition. And then I'm going to go I saw that chocolate ice cream sundae in the cafeteria I'm going to eat afterwards. And I saw the M&Ms that I'm going to pick up when I get back to the athletes village. And so I was just thinking about food. I was thinking about food before I went and competed. Nice. I was trying to try to be normal and not be thinking about the Olympic Games when I went out there.
Right. That's what happens to a lot of people, right? They think, oh, this is going to change my life.
They overthink. Yeah. And you can't overthink. Yeah. And if you've done your job, just like kids in school, if you know your homework, if you know going into that exam, then you shouldn't be nervous. You should be prepared. Yeah. And same with athletes, same with, football players and the Super Bowl, Grey Cup, whatever. I mean, your adrenaline is going, but you shouldn't be feeling really anxious, because to me there should be more adrenaline because you are ready. I mean, that's what you've trained for. You could do it in your sleep. Yeah.
Excited instead of nervous, excited. I can remember high stress moments for me in my life where it could make or break my life, and often thinking back to like when I was a kid playing sports and how like you're in the schoolyard and you're just playing and having fun, and how you're successful, not worried about if it happens or not. And then I would try and put myself back in that sort of frame of mind of like, this is just having fun. This is the same sport I was playing as a little kid. Yeah. Because when you start thinking about, like, you don't know what the consequences of anything are, right? No. So why worry about them?
No, exactly. Well, be happy, right?
And then you went out and won the silver medal.
That was in 84.
Yeah, which is amazing anyway. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I should have won the gold. And it's a judge sport too, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever.
Well, 84, I was the new kid on the block. Right. Yeah, 84, I was the new kid on the block. So winning silver was bonus for me. And I got experience from it. Yeah. And experience goes a long way into having, so then that really helped prepare me for the 88 Olympics.
Okay, 84. Okay, this was
84 LA. LA was 84. Okay, and 88 was Seoul, Korea.
Oh, awesome. So then, okay, let's go to Seoul then. So You've won the silver. Is the person who won the gold in 84 Olympics still competing? So
she retired after winning gold in 84. And you're like, thank God. And she came, and so so I was like, okay, this is going to be, I not that it was going to be a walk in the park for 88. Yeah. And then she decides to come out of retirement the year before the Olympic Games. Okay. So my nose got, who is she? Tracy Ruiz. From the U.S. Oh, okay. So it was kind of like a Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson rivalry between her and I. We didn't hate each other at all. We respected one another, but it did kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It was annoying to me, and it was actually
that she came out of retirement.
Insulting. I felt it was insulting to me, because I felt that she figured that the reason why she came out of retirement, she figured that she could just get back into training and beat me. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't come out of retirement if you didn't think you could beat your opponent,
Put
right?
the nose plug on and...
Well, exactly. Yeah. So she was just thinking she could come out of retirement and beat me after 3 years of being off. Wow. So that really fired me up, thinking, okay, there's no way you're going to beat me. Yeah. Taking 3 years off of training and you're going to come out of retirement. And if you do beat me, then that's going to be really bad. So it made me really hungry, because I really didn't want that to happen. Because it was insulting.
So the motivation is there.
The motivation was there because beautiful. I didn't want someone to come out of retirement and then beat me.
But we need things like that, right?
Well,
like
Ben
you gotta Johnson and Carl Lewis.
You got to have a fire in your belly, right? Yeah.
Okay, so how does that affect you? You're like, what? And then you're like, okay, and I'm going to the pool now, and you just like start.
Yeah, so it just made me. It created a fire inside. So I was more determined than ever, and. To my benefit, she actually got into bodybuilding in her off time.
Her buoyancy's off.
So exactly. So she shows up and she's got these muscles, like she is ripped. She looks good, but not good in the water. So she was sinking, like sinking. So she was like and the big thing with synchro is making sure that you've got nice height out of the water, that you get good marks for that. Mm-hmm. So she had all this muscle mass now. Yeah, in synchros, you have to have the right bone, right muscle, right fat content, to be successful in the sport. Obviously, bone you can't. You can't.
You might be able to now.
Well,
I don't know.
So you can't control that. That's what you're born with. But fat and muscle you can control. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, she was sinking terribly. She couldn't get the height because she had all that muscle mass. Yeah. So that was to my benefit. Yeah. Is the fact that it didn't help her. Yeah, she looked great, but it didn't help her in the water.
Cut to shot of Carolyn, a slight smile on her face as she sinks to the bottom. What did she end up winning?
She won the silver.
Oh wow! Well, good for her.
So
a little exchange.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's go to that day. That was exciting. I really got into it. And you're telling me behind the curtain before the big game.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in these pressure situations. We had Henry Burris here who was talking about like when he was going out for overtime of the Grey Cup last year or 2 years ago. And imagine the pressure there as well, right? And he just thought, well, I put all the work in and I'm just going to go out there and have fun. And he was also heavily medicated too. I think that happened to be part of the zone. So what are you telling yourself when you're behind the curtain here going out for the Olympics where you're supposed to win?
Yes.
Right?
So I had that picosecond of panic anxiety because realizing, oh my God, this is the Olympic Games. Mm-hmm. And then I tried to completely switch my focus. So I switched my focus. I was then kind of self-coaching myself, saying, okay, you've done this. So this little person's going, okay, you've done this 1,000,000 times. Yeah. So why are you nervous? Just go out there and kick butt. So I just went out there. That was for the solo, so I felt really good. I had a pretty significant lead, so I was pretty confident going into the solo event. Now, the duet event, we were competing against identical twins.
That doesn't seem fair.
No, honestly, like competing against identical twins, they have such a huge advantage.
That's bizarre.
And we were so close. We were, like in racing terms, it was like 0.1 second. Like it was, or 1/10 of a point between us. So it was really who was going to win. And we knew that we could not make like really any mistakes at all, Michelle and I. Mm-hmm. So I remember going out and we always had this little thing of we talked actually. So we take our pose and we'd always say, okay, let's do it. So we talked to each other on the deck, like kind of lip read, like we wouldn't be moving our mouth, but that would calm us right down. And away we went. So we had our little thing. We also, in warm-up, we would swim. So we just do laps, but we would also swim in synchronization to try to get on the same rhythm. Yeah. So we would we would take our heart rate. And I'm a very hyper person. She was a very, like, kind of sloth-like person. Okay. So she would try to elevate her heart rate, and I would try to lower my heart rate. So we would try to bring our heart rate almost at the same tempo before we would compete. Wow. I don't know if that actually helped or not, but we figured it can't hurt to try to get it so we're like twins. Yeah. So we wanted to become like twins. So that's why we tried to do a lot of things together. We tried to walk the same way, so we'd think the same way, so we'd react the same way. Yeah. So we could become like one in the water.
Wow. Even if you didn't... It's a ritual, right? So it's something that gets our mind focused in the same direction for sure. Is there a high... is there a lot of... It seems to me like an identical twin would be they would be perfect at that.
Well, they are.
Synchronous. How many are there?
Well, they are. They are perfect at that because if they're identical, they're identical. Yeah. Their legs are the same. They're the same height out of the water. They're the same toe point. They're the same smile, the same face, the same hands. Everything is the same.
Do they get extra points? Do you think they get extra points for looking exactly the same?
Oh, it's an advantage.
Yeah.
It's definitely an advantage because you won't... However, if they make a mistake, it's probably going to be magnified a little bit more because they're identical. Yeah. So you're expecting a mirror image. But I think it's an advantage definitely being...
How many are there? Can you think of any that are competing right now?
I don't know. I'm not sure if there's any identical twins right now.
And is there men synchronized swimming?
Yes,
there is.
There's men.
And is there mixed...
Yes, there's mixed.
Wow, everything's changing.
See, we could do a duet.
Yeah, we're gonna do a duet.
We could do a duet.
Can we do a duet?
Sometime.
I would like to do that. Can we do a duet? When we're done here, we'll do a duet out in the driveway. We're doing it. You heard it here. It's gonna be on my vlog. Carolyn Waldo, Mark Hatfield. The duet.
Oh, you got to shave your legs.
Yeah, I'll do it.
You got to shave your armpits too.
Shave my arms. I can do that too.
Hairy armpits are ugly.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're lifting your arms up.
Yeah. I agree. But what about if you get the guy with the big hairy armpits and it's like, wow, everyone's like, it's like the Jamaican bobsled team or the Eddie the Eagle. Everyone tune in to see.
Oh dear, yeah.
The guy with the dreadlock armpits. So is that a new thing? I was
It's a new thing.
Unaware of that.
It's a new thing.
So the next Olympics, there's going to be guys.
Well, I don't know if it was at the World Aquatic Championships.
Okay.
They had mixed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, that's the mix, but the men.
They had mixed men and women,
okay.
like a duet. And they also
Like
had men. They had like a man with 7 girls in the water. Isn't that a dream for a man?
Wait a minute, what's happening here? I'm going to practice.
And that's.
Oh.
I remember there was actually a male synchronized swimmer, and this was many years ago.
Yeah.
And he was a swimmer, and he was dared by the swim team.
Okay.
They said, "I dare you to join the synchro team,"
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Okay." So he did, and more as on a dare and as a joke,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up sticking with the synchro team because he preferred it over swimming, because swimming ended up being boring because. Synchronized swimmers are good swimmers. We swim laps like swimmers do.
Yeah.
But then we have the whole other element of synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
And he wasn't dumb because he's surrounded by really attractive women all the time.
Yeah. How's
right?
it going? Don't really care for winning or losing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another team party.
So he was the first male synchronized swimmer, and that was like 25 years ago.
And no one, that was allowed.
He didn't compete.
Oh, it wasn't
back
allowed.
then, men weren't allowed to compete.
Okay, it wasn't allowed.
But
He
now
just hung out with the team.
He just hung out with the team without
genius.
the girls. He hung out with the girls.
That is a great idea,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
That's I encourage that for everybody who wants to have fun. Yeah, so I had no idea. I was kind of half joking there that's a thing.
Yeah,
wow, I
it is
look forward to that.
It's a thing.
Yeah. So next Olympics, there's going to be men's.
I don't think it's. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay,
don't quote me. I don't think it's in the Olympic sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's at the World Aquatic level championship, but it's not at the Olympic level yet. I think they're trying to get it in the Olympics, but I don't know if it will be, or when it will be, or if it will be. I don't know.
So did you win your gold in the single or solo or is it?
Both. So I won a gold in solo and duet.
But which was first?
My solo was first.
Solo was first. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the greatest moment anyone could ever hope for, and why we trained for 15 years, 6 to 7 hours a day, and everything is this gold medal. And you're behind the curtain and you're telling, that's the story where you're telling yourself. So then when you go to do the doubles, there must be a huge pressure release, right? And then the pressure's on your buddy.
Well, now the pressure is on team, right?
Yeah.
Because we're a team, and you really don't want yourself to screw up, and you don't want your teammate to screw up, because if your teammate screws up, you're going down with them, right? So you're trying to work together and make sure that you're both calm, but you're psyched up for the event, and making sure that you're confident in your ability before you go out. And again, this is like any other day. That's how we tried to train it. We also practiced like we were competing every day. So that really helps, is having that mindset. Every time I would do my full routine, I was nervous every single time I would do it. And same thing with the duet and solo, because I would put myself
That's
in.
great.
I would put myself in that, I guess that picture of the Olympic Games, figuring, okay, I've got to do the best job possible today, because this could be the Olympic Games one day. So I always put myself in that mindset of, I'm not just going through the motions here. I'm going through it like it's the Olympic Games. Every single time I swam a full run through. So you were probably the same, with every play that you would do. You don't go through the motions. Yeah, when you're going through your playbook, you go through your motions. But when you actually, when you're working on skills or drills, you do it.
Yeah. Well, in football practice, the practice can be harder because guys are well rested. They're teeing off on you. 5 times they got to do it in a game. Everyone's tired, and you're 60, 70 plays in, and it's a little bit less, physical, and people take maybe not breaks, but it gets a little bit easier as the game goes on. But practice, everyone's coming.
No,
hard,
that's changed
right?
though in practice, right? They can't hit. They can't hit as much in practice because of concussions. I think they have new regulations in practice.
Yeah, I think you're right. But times like training camp and stuff, where people are trying to make a team, then that's that super high intensity, right? When everything's on the line, and it's it can be dangerous for sure, because people are just taking shots, taking risks.
Well, I was interviewing a linebacker, and it was amazing when I asked it. So what is it really like when you take a hit? Mm-hmm. You know, when you're lining up at the line of scrimmage and you are going full throttle into someone. And he said, well, he goes, it's like a car crash. Oh, yeah. It's like a car crash at, I think he said it was like 60 kilometers an hour head on. Mm-hmm. Every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how I compared it.
Like
too.
It's crazy. Yeah. It really is nuts.
Yeah. I've been in a couple of big car accidents, and you don't feel very good the next couple of days. But it was always the same after every game. Yeah. The next day was terrible, and in the game, 2 days later, it was even worse. You're like, you barely get out of bed. I used to have a hot shower every morning, first thing I did, just to try and warm up my body, just to try and get things moving. And it was terrible for sure. And you think guys do that for like 13 years, it's amazing, 14 years. Like it goes on and on. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's it's amazing when you peel away, you know, like every sport has their challenges, mm-hmm. and every sport has, whether you think it's a sport or not, there's skill, mm-hmm. There's difficulty involved in everything. And so it is interesting when you can peel away the layers and really dive into various sports and see what it takes, because mm-hmm. it's pretty amazing. Like when you look at the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympics, and you know, you don't see all of those sports all the time, like, you know, ski cross and those sports. It's nuts what they do. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because people were always like, oh, you should, you know, take care of yourself, play a sport. Sports aren't necessarily good for you physically, well, you know?
Especially if you're at the elite level.
Right, yeah.
Because you're pushing to the max,
that's right? Yeah.
You're pushing to the limit.
Yeah. I mean, if you're exercising and, you know, staying strong and flexible. I remember when I played football thinking it would be nice to just work out for a solid year and not to have to break, you know, because you work out for 6 months and then you break your body down for 6 months and you'd be almost starting over every single year, right? Yeah. And to think, you know, what happens is you just don't work out.
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to work out anymore.
Yeah.
Right. It all comes down to that motivation and like, you know, your friend or your competitor coming back a year before the Olympics was probably the greatest possible thing that could have happened. Although at the time it was a terrible thing, you know.
But it pushed me.
Yeah, it drove you. Like we need that motivation. Yeah. We need to have a reason why, mm-hmm. and that's a huge part of what I tell kids too. Right. It has to come from within. You have to have that passion, that fire in your own belly, or it's not going to happen. And you have to have, when those bad things happen, you have to embrace them and go, this is what's going to propel me on to mm-hmm. getting better, right? There's nobody who's achieved anything who can look back and say, oh, it was easy the whole way. Yeah. Although we often think that's the case, mm-hmm. right? We often look at these, you know, Sidney Crosbys and everybody at the top of their game and go, oh, they've just had it so easy.
Right.
That's not the way it works, right? No. Like these kids in hockey, for example, have to leave their hometown because of the jealousy involved and then, you know, the things they have to overcome. They have to keep moving and keep working. And that's, you know, an important message for people to realize that when it seems like things aren't going their way, well, maybe they really are. You mm-hmm. know what I mean? Just don't give up. Just find that reason why you love doing it. You know, like you said, you quit synchronized swimming, then you realize, man, I need that in my life. Yeah. I need that competition, that reason to get up in the morning. It's what life is all about.
Well, can you imagine quitting anytime anything became difficult? Mm-hmm. If we all did that, mm-hmm. if we just quit because it's like, oh no, that's too hard. I'm not going to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have any success.
No.
And you wouldn't have any self-worth or feeling like you've accomplished anything if you quit at any obstacle in life. I mean, so you do have to push through challenges. We all have to push through challenges every single day. Mm-hmm. But that's what builds character,
that's right? And it hurts. Like you got to remember, it hurts everybody when they fail, when something doesn't mm-hmm. go their way, when they're told they can't do it. Yeah. That hurts everyone. Yeah. That's like you said, that guy on the shoulder saying you can't do this is there for everyone. Yeah. No matter how good you get at something, you still have to learn to overcome that and tell that voice that, no, I'm going to do this.
Exactly.
Despite you saying I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I really like the pre-game, like, you know, so you win a gold medal. Tell me how that feels.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Like I have to say, I mean, just getting to the Olympic Games mm-hmm. is incredible, and experiencing Olympic Games is like nothing else. But all I wanted as a kid was a Canada jacket. I never dreamt about going to the Olympics, but I wanted a Canada jacket. There was a girl, and it's amazing how we have role models in life that you might have looked up to someone. There was a girl when I was young at a pool, and she competed. She won a bronze medal in the 76 Olympics in Montreal, Robin Curcilia. She was only 13 or 14 years of age, and she won a bronze. Mm-hmm. And that was when the East Germans were winning everything.
Yeah, with their plyometrics.
Oh my God, just crazy.
So she won a 76.
She's 76 in breaststroke swimming.
Okay.
And she came to this little outdoor pool that I grew up at, and she was wearing a Canada jacket. And that resonated with me. It was like, oh my God. I idolized her, seeing her wear that Canada jacket. And I thought, I want a Canada jacket. But I didn't know how I was going to get one, but I wanted to earn my Canada jacket.
Roots has a whole bunch of them.
I know. Now you can buy them. It's kind of easy to buy one now. But I wanted to earn my Canada jacket. And so when I received my Canada jacket, I was like elated.
Yeah.
Never did I ever imagine I'd go to the Olympic Games. And then at the Olympic Games, I had the biggest honor. I was asked to be the Canadian flag bearer.
You're the flag bearer?
For the opening ceremonies in
that's
88.
amazing.
So it was... I was shocked. Like I had I really didn't see this coming, that I was going to be, leading my whole Canadian team into the opening ceremonies. And it was goosebumps. I had goosebumps all over my body doing that. Like it was a huge privilege to do that. So it's really, it was bittersweet 88 because I knew I wasn't getting any better and it was time to move on in life. At the ripe old age of 23, I retired.
Wow.
But it was such a great feeling because after all that training, I accomplished what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I could walk away from it and be happy. And then also just seeing what other opportunities are going to open up for me. I have another whole life and time to turn the page and do something else. So I don't like living in the past. I'm one that really, like a light switch. I can turn the light switch on and flip and turn the page over and enjoy another part of my life.
That's important.
So I don't like to live in the past. That's why I don't really, when I meet people, I don't tell them about the Olympics. I'll talk to strangers on planes or wherever. They'll ask me, what I do, and I will never bring up the fact I would
think most Canadians know who you are. Is that true?
No, because not really.
35 years and older, maybe?
Well, yeah, like the older generation might know who I am. I don't expect anyone to. I'm always surprised when people know who I am because it was so long ago that, I mean, it's very flattering when people know what, remember what I did, but I don't expect anyone to know what I did. So, I'm very proud of it, but I've had a great life and I've got great memories of the Olympics, but it was a very small part of my life. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, it's been more than the same amount since then, right? Yeah. Yeah,
it's been
right.
It's been 30 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
30 years since I won.
But that's amazing. So last night at Our Lady Peace concert.
Oh yeah.
At the concession stand.
Oh yeah.
The guy knew about my podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Great.
He said,
That's
"Wow,
good.
hey, I love your podcast." I mean,
that's great.
Yeah, so yeah, I like to be recognized.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. That really did happen. But
yeah.
Okay, so what did the gold medal after the Olympics? You've got a gold medal, and so it's like you've gone to journalism school. Is that something that you wanted to do, or is it because the opportunities?
Well, I went because I thought I need to go back to school. So that's why I went to have a plan B, because just because I won an Olympic gold medal doesn't mean I'm going to land something. I didn't know, so I had to prepare. So I went back to school, and I was very fortunate. 6 weeks into my course at Ryerson,
wow,
CTV called me and said, "Do you want the job?"
That's Ottawa, right? So
that was Ottawa.
Okay.
And I said, "Sure."
You left school.
And so, I went to CTV, started on television, and I was so bad.
Yeah.
Like I was bad.
Okay, so it's a whole new thing to learn.
I was very bad on air, like very bad. I'm really glad there was none of this back then. There was no social media. There was no Facebook. Well, there might have been Facebook. I'm not sure if there was Facebook back then. There was no Twitter. There was no Instagram. Was Facebook back in 1989?
Definitely not.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't know when Facebook came out.
I'm not
Anyways,
sure.
so yeah, there was none of that, because if there was social media, it would have been awful. Like it would have been terrible. So I'm glad there wasn't.
No, maybe we could get some of those videos out and put them on. I mean, that's totally a possibility.
I remember saying, now it's on to the Far More Classic in Fart Lauderdale. And I couldn't get, when you're nervous, and when that red light comes on in studio, I thought I was going to puke. every single time for the first 2 years because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did, but I clearly did not know what I was doing. I was way over my head. I had no training. And so I would call the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the Winnipeg Boo Blombers, because I was so nervous.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
So
it was bad.
You were doing sports, obviously.
Yes. And James Duthie was training me.
Yeah.
So he was the one training me. I remember sitting at my desk, and he was producing for me because I didn't even know how to write a highlight. That's how raw I was. Yeah. Because there's a whole lingo in sports. When you're a sportscaster, there's a whole lingo you have to learn. And so he finally says to me, I said, okay, James, let me prepare some of the sportscasts. He goes, okay, I'll let you write the Montreal Canadiens highlights. So I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting at the typewriter. There was no computer. Yeah. And I'm sitting there with a blank. And I'm like, I start crying. And I'm like, James, I don't even know how to write a hockey highlight. I don't even know how to write a hockey. See, he was so good. He comes over. He goes, oh, Carolyn. He goes, it's okay, Carolyn. If you were to throw me in a pool, I wouldn't know how to synchronized swim. He goes, you got to learn this, no biggie at all. So he was excellent with me. He just held my hand through the whole process. He was a great teacher, and really, really helped me a lot.
He's from Beacon Hill as well.
James Duthie. There you go. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So then obviously you look to people for help, right?
Big
mentors.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. The first 2 years were very, very difficult. And again, I'm glad there wasn't any social media.
But coming from the top of your game in one thing,
and then the worst. So I went from the best in the world to the worst in the business.
Was there any kind of things you could do, or that you did that made you successful in one? Did you take it over to the other?
Well, not to quit.
Yeah.
So in synchro, when you in anything, when you get frustrated, you just want to toss in the towel. And believe me, there were times I wanted to toss in the towel with television because I was so bad. But I didn't want to quit. That was the easy route out. So I just, again, it's just working really hard at it. So I just worked really hard at it, tried to learn as much as I could. And, slowly it came, and I felt more and more confident. And, but it was difficult.
And so what was the goal there? Was it to become a broadcaster or a sports broadcaster?
It was just to get my door in television. I actually wanted to be more of a television kind of host. That's what I really wanted to do. But it was the sports job that opened up. And so I went right, and sports was kind of natural because I was an athlete. So I went right into it, and I loved it. I was a fabulous job for 25 years. 25 years. I interviewed so many fascinating people. I was inspired almost every day at my job. Wow. It was fabulous. I was very privileged to have had that career.
You did sports at CTV for 25 years?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
I know, it is amazing.
Wow, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, no, you don't see that at all.
Yeah. You must have been doing something right. You know what I mean?
I guess. Well,
years.
There was a lot of loyalty there at CJOH at the time.
Yeah.
It was CJOH.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of loyalty.
Yeah. Who's still, JJ still there?
JJ, Terry Marcotte.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, Joanne Schnurr.
Yeah.
She's been there a long time. John Ruddle, he's a producer. He used to be a reporter. Catherine Latham, she's been there for quite a while too. So there's a lot of behind the scenes people that you wouldn't know that have been there for a long time.
It's that the local media is just so important in our community or in every community, right? It just becomes part of your life, part of your family. It's amazing in how it's changing. And I suppose it seems sad when someone loses their job, but it's my hope that they'll find the medium for them in that same it's changing, right?
Absolutely. Well, podcasts, blogs. So there's certainly whole other areas that you can do and have your own show, do your own thing like you're doing. It's fabulous that there is a forum out there that you can do on your own now, and you can be your own boss.
Yeah, we've had, I say we, like you, and when you're doing your synchronized swimming by yourself, synchronized podcasting here, have had episodes where over 20,000 people have consumed in some way. So it's amazing, right? Isn't that amazing? There's some radio stations who don't have that.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
fabulous.
Is, it is amazing. And it's like I say, every time I go somewhere, there's someone there that talks to me about it.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. And for me, it's fantastic to talk to people like this and to hear these stories of success and overcoming obstacles. And it's made me a better person. And the fact that it helps other people too is it's almost mind blowing, because we're sitting here one-on-one talking, you know what I mean? But then there's like an arena full of people who are going to benefit from it.
Yeah.
So that's
well, we can all learn from one another, right?
That's right.
The day that you stop learning, or the day that you think that you know everything,
that's when
don't think you know everything.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
we don't know everything.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
So now I'm doing. I'm kind of like semi-retired, which is really nice. So I'm just focusing on doing things that I absolutely love. So actually, one of the things I've fallen into, not really fallen into because I got my certification. I'm a spinning instructor, which
wow.
I absolutely love it. It's just my happy place. I get on a bike and I'm teaching some great people at 3 different studios. So I'm doing that. I'm doing a little bit of kind of communications media work on the side as well. Just dabbling in various things, but I'm not working like a dog. I'm not in the rat race. I'm just enjoying life.
That's fantastic.
And doing things that are really important to me and that I really enjoy doing.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah.
That's fantastic. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's great.
Thanks a lot for spending the time here. It's been 1 hour. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
it's
We'll
been-
shake hands.
okay,
We'll take some
no
pictures
problem. That's great.
That was amazing. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
And we're going to go out and do some synchronized.
Oh, there we go.
What would we call it if we did it on dry land? Synchronized
Well,
dancing? Synchronized?
I don't know. It doesn't really become synchronized swimming if we're on land.
Well, there's snow.
There's snow.
We'll do it there.
We can lie in the snow and pretend it's water.
Snow angels.
There you go.
That was awesome. Thanks very much.
Okay.
I'm gonna press.